Hello, friends. It's time for another writing lesson. And we have been working on personal narratives. And we talked about how a narrative is something that tells about an experience or something that's happened to you or happened in your life. And so I went online and I found a book for us to read. And it's Stella Tells Her Story. And in this book, Stella is going to learn how narrative. We're going to read a little bit of it at a time so that along with Stella, we can learn how to write a narrative. Stella tells her story, and the author is Daniel Wagstaff, and the illustrator is Dana Reagan. And it's always very important to read the author and illustrator because they worked very hard to get this writing and pictures done, and we want to recognize them. Just like when you do your writing pieces, it's very important you write your name on them. That way we can recognize your hard work. A puppy, a puppy! We got a puppy yesterday. Max is so struck by puppy love, he's shouting it to everyone at the coat rack. Lots of kids gathered round to hear him, including me. I'm Stella. She has the softest fur and licks my face so much it tickles, Max added. Our second grade class is mesmerized. Everyone asked Max questions. We were so busy. Miss Merkley had to come out of the classroom to bring us in to start the day. She wasn't mad. In fact, instead of doing our morning math, she called us over to the rug. She said today was the perfect day to start writing narratives. Narrative seems like a big word, but it just means stories. We all have stories to tell. Sometimes story ideas are big and exciting, and other times they're just small. But every day there are events or happenings in our lives we can write about. Miss M, as we call her, wrote the word topics in big red letters on one side of the whiteboard and said this would be our special place to record ideas that we could turn into stories. Ideas are all around us, just waiting to be noticed. Max's puppy was the first topic to go on our list. I have a story too, Miss M called on Tanika. I went up to the lake with my uncle and we caught this really ugly fish. I freaked out because it was squirmy and wet and its gills were flapping. What did it look like? Simon asked. It was big and gray and green and brownish, and it had these pointy things coming out of its mouth. It looked right at me and I screamed. Kids started getting excited, talking about whatever was bouncing around in their heads. Miss M had to stop us. Okay, class, I see you're fired up. Don't worry, we want to hear everyone's story, but let's take a minute and come back to Tanika's. It sounds like you caught a catfish. Yeah, that's what my uncle called it. What did you do with it? This time it was Charlie. He got all googly eyed, like he'd never seen a fish before. I guess that's what hearing good stories can do to you. We took the hook out and threw it back in the lake. I was so glad. I didn't want to be on the boat with that thing staring at me. Miss M went back to the board. Under topics, she added Tanika's catfish. She could tell we all wanted a chance to talk, so she let us turn to our neighbors and share our story ideas. Kids who couldn't think of anything yet just listened in. Maybe hearing our ideas would help them get started. And I'm going to stop right here because we have done this process already. We have brainstormed. We took our big watermelon idea. So I gave you something to think about, Halloween. And then you had to think of all the little black seeds that were tiny, smaller ideas underneath Halloween. And so you brainstorm those ideas. And one of the things we learned from reading Stella's book is that it helps to talk to people about it. So if you get stuck on writing, you want to talk to some people and hear ideas from them, and it might spark something in your brain. I told Kyle about making chocolate cupcakes over the weekend with my mom. I ended up with batter on my face and all stringy through my hair. My idea must have helped him think of his own because he told me about making big fat mud pies in the park. I guess he got in trouble when he got home. Moms don't like head to toe mud splashes. Miss M walked around listening to our conversations, and then under topics, she wrote a couple of the ideas she heard. Many of you seem ready to write. Talking about our stories really helps. Here are some other tricks writers use, and this is where we're headed next. So pay very close attention to this part of the story. She grabbed a big sheet of paper and wrote first, next, then last. Stories need a beginning, middle, and end. Writers sometimes start by thinking of a happening or event or even a moment from their lives. They think, what happened at the beginning, what happened next, and so on. Let's try it with Max's story. Max, you got a puppy yesterday, right? Yep. What happened first? I went with my mom and brother to the animal shelter to look at puppies. Tell us a little more about that. How did you pick your dog? We picked her because she really liked us. She was wagging her tail, whining, and jumping all over the place. It looked like she was smiling at us. Those are great details for your story. What happened next? While Miss M asked Max for details, she wrote on the big paper. See, class, I'm jotting notes to help us remember the important things that happened first, then next, then, and last in Max's story. Good writers do this all the time to figure out what they're thinking, organize their thoughts, and plan their stories. If they have trouble, they can ask a friend to listen and ask questions, just like you saw me doing. So, who's ready to write? And this is going to be our next step. We're going to work on coming up with our first, next, then, and last. A sea of hands shot up. I couldn't wait to get hold of some paper. Okay, first, my happening, my event. What should I tell about? Cupcake hair? I heard one of the other kids talking about his grandma, and that made me think of a time last year with my Oma. That was a good event. Okay, organizing. What happened? In order. I think I'll try that jotting thing with those special words to help me. First, Mom promised my first roller coaster ride at Super Funland. Oma is coming with us. Next, we get crazy. Mom yells at us, so we slow down. Then, Milo gets sick and goes with Mom. I wait with Oma. All of a sudden, she wants to go on the roller coaster. I am scared. Oma says she'll hold my hand the whole time. We go. Last. Squeezed hands so tight. It was scary but fun. Big smiles. We go to find Milo and Mom. That was some fantastic advice Miss M gave. She's a great writer. Those first, next, then, last words and that jotting really got me going. My story's all planned. And that's what you're going to do today is start planning your story. We're going to work on this the next 2 days probably. Getting our jotted notes down, our details, going over them, making sure we didn't miss anything important. And this is called using a graphic organizer. And so I am going to put our graphic organizer onto our seesaw activity. And it is in the shape of a hamburger. The nice thing about that is it helps keep our things organized. I'll go over our hamburger graphic organizer more in my video where I'm showing you how to fill that out. Get ready to write.